to the stage Dr. Ali Taha Koç. He is the CEO of Turkcell, there he is, with well over 40 million subscribers. Many of you will be seeing its service signal right now on your phones. And he was also appointed chief of the Presidential Digital Transformation Office in 2018. Elena Contioso-Fleming is the interim regional director South for EIT Digital. That is the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and it was launched in 2010 to foster innovation and entrepreneurial talent for economic growth. And finally, Kalev Hannes Letaru is the founder of the GDELT project, that is the global database of events, language, and tone. He's also an internet entrepreneur and academic, currently with George Washington University. Thanks all so much for being with me. Very exciting to have you. As I said before, I'm very excited about this panel because it's of specific interest to me. So let's begin with the question posed simply by the title of this panel itself, AI, creative potential or destructive evil. Let me begin with Ali. As an engineer yourself and a leader really in the telecom space, are you excited or apprehensive about the rise of AI technology?
Thank you very much for having me. Again, thank you very much for TRT World for this great opportunity for talking about AI. I think we should definitely talk more about AI because we definitely need to create awareness with respect to AI. And especially what is happening over there with the new technologies, we are always talking about pros and cons. But with the pros and cons, if you take all the other technologies, it always positively affects the social welfare of the human being. So that's the reason that AI is going to, at the end of the day, AI is going to help us. But if you talk about the AI, we should definitely start with the name, what the AI is. Because currently everybody is talking about AI. If you have a new business, if you're even in a cooking business, you talk about AI. So we need to definitely put clear that what the AI is, and especially into 2023, the word AI, artificial intelligence, becomes the word of the 2023. Everybody's talking about AI. But if you, in a nutshell, what the AI is you can talk about it. It is a human-like behavior of computer or softwares. But always it is human-like. It's not going to be like a human. It's not going to be a real human, but it's going to be always like. So that's the reason that we should be careful about what it's going to help us. We need to always think about it as a tool for humankind. So we always say that there's a huge question whether the artificial intelligence will replace the human being or not. The answer is very straightforward. It won't. But the humans who use artificial intelligence will replace humans who don't use artificial intelligence. So the act is going to be done by the humans, not the artificial intelligence. So that's the reason that we should be very careful, and especially nowadays, everybody is using AI. Previously, it is just for the games industry and some specific tasks. But everywhere right now, with all large language models, everybody is using ChatGPT and others. So everybody is involved with the AI right now. So we need to be careful about this manipulation and disinformation because it is very easy to use right now, the AI. And as Turkcell, what I want to say about the AI is we are very robust and we are very secure about the AI usage. And in Turkcell, in 2020, we already set up our principles. As one of the biggest telco operator in Turkey, we put our principles, and the principles are very straightforward. We have 7 different principles. The first one is the AI needs to be human-centered. The second one, it needs to be professionally responsible. And the third one is we are always observe the data confidentiality. So this is very important for us. It needs to be transparent. It needs to be secure. It needs to be always, with our algorithms, we act fairly towards our users and the subscribers. And the last but the most important one, I think, for the AI is we share and collaborate for a better future of humankind. We share and collaborate. It's not going to be done by only a company. It needs to be holistic approach around the world.
Thank you so much. You say it's not going to be like a human, but that's what everyone's fear is right now. Not everyone. You seem pretty at peace with the fact that you don't think the computer and the technology can catch up to actual human behavior. But yeah, I think that's what's in huge part up for debate among some. But Elena Contioso-Fleming, let me turn to you because with your work at an institute that actually fosters innovation through technology, how do you think AI should be approached and integrated into what you do? And do you welcome it or do you fear it?
Well, the European Commission expects that artificial intelligence will improve lives of citizens, and I agree with that. It will improve and have a benefit on economy and society through a better healthcare or more efficient transport, more efficient public administration. And well, there are already applications that are working on this and other domains, and they have proved to serve as a guidance to take the decisions that recently only very highly trained humans could make. And this has led to remarkable improvements like the ability of predict where the next earthquake will take place and when, and the capability of analyzing medical images and detect cancerous cells. Of course, with these opportunities, there are also risks and challenges, as happens with any new technological innovative wave, as it happens maybe with the fire, as you mentioned before.
Overall, it sounds like you really see a net positive, though.
I think it's positive, but at the same time, I think that there are new and unknown risks that may or may not need to, to put ad hoc legislation or regulations in place.
So regulatory framework is
yes.
Right, and that's what we heard from a lot of the leaders in the industry, that this needs to be watched very carefully. Governments do need to start looking at regulatory frameworks, but as we know, governments are always a step at least behind technology. They can't regulate technology until the technology is there, and it's difficult to predict. But let me move to Khaled, because your work really revolves around leveraging advanced technologies. So tell us where you've been applying AI, where it's benefited your work, and where you've thought, maybe this could be a problem.
Yeah, to me, what's really fascinating is, we think about AI as kind of this new thing now, especially with the generative era. And, we've had AI for many decades now. It drives our cars, it gives you driving directions, it helps optimize supply chains, it translates for you. What's different now is AI is increasingly not just transforming, it's actually creating itself, and it's much more visible. It's not behind the scenes anymore. It's something we actually play with as consumers. And so, in my own work, we use AI every day to look across the global media system, to be able to look across hundreds of languages, across television, radio, print, to explore global risk, the power of global risk, to be able to watch television, for example, 24/7, and summarize what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Ukraine, how it's being portrayed across the world. And to me, there's enormous power in AI. But one of the dangers right now is that largely what we're hearing is the hype, because companies, they're having to do huge investments for this, so they want people to use it. So there's downsides right now to the initial generation of generative AI. Things like, you've probably all heard about hallucination, where these things make stuff up. Job displacement's a fascinating one. Many of the voices that historically have talked about globalization's good because, it's taking people's jobs. But now, when it's going for white-collar jobs instead of blue-collar jobs, suddenly it's, oh my God, we've got to stop. And I think that to me, one of the greatest dangers here is the role of AI for war and conflict. And that's one of the areas I focus a lot on, is, imagine a conflict where, imagery shows up and you say, wow, there's war crimes here. But now you're suddenly flooding the environment with known false information. So you can say, well, that imagery that's war crimes, that's just fake news like this other stuff. Imagine an election where you're getting, every citizen of that country is receiving personalized disinformation designed just for them. And also with the generative space, we've had for a while now the ability to saturate a battlefield with drones that have a list of targets to hunt for them. What's different now is this new generative tools. You can literally, there are tools, there actually are demos of this now, where you can say, find bad people on this battlefield. And what does that mean? And I think for Turkey A, one of the most fascinating pieces of this is most of the models that we're playing with right now, ChatGPT, all of these, they're made by American companies encoding American values. And so when you ask them about things like Gaza or things like Islam or any of these topics, you get oh, I can't answer that. That's a forbidden topic. Or you get it rewritten in a Western perspective. So it was so wonderful to hear about Turkey A's investments in AI, because this is the future, is not relying on a handful of companies, but countries building ones that reflect their values, that reflect their norms, that reflect their societies. And I think that's a really, really crucial piece of this.
Really. Let me ask you, because you're coming from the US perspective specifically here, and when you talk about, the disinformation, misinformation, and how American-led AI will take its own approach toward addressing certain issues, please help us understand what the dangers could potentially be in that space, because if it is opinion manipulated by certain creators, and misinformation and disinformation, which will be arguably more convincing than ever, because it's not just going to be what somebody writes on a website or through a news organization. There are going to be pictures and videos that are faked, but highly authentic looking to back this up. How will that be kept under control?
For generations, we've taught people, don't believe it until you see it. That imagery is kind of that mark that it happened. And we can't trust that anymore. And I think, AI or social media companies for a long time have built algorithms that try to prioritize things that divide us. They look for the posts that get the most engagement, but they're still limited by human ingenuity. Imagine social media companies that have a profile of us and can generate content that will get us coming back to their platforms, that they scour everything that's happening, and they say, and imagine every single person gets something that's going to divide them, that's going to fire them up. Political campaigns that can target people with hyper-personalized material. We've never had the ability where a political campaign could target every single person in a country, but worse, an outside country, an adversary that can tear a country apart during an election. And from a regulation standpoint, one of the things that I keep coming back to is in the 1990s in the US said, we're going to restrict encryption technology because we're going to say that's an American technology. And they forgot this stuff is open. Anyone can do it. And so everyone just developed it. So one of the limitations, I think, of government regulation that governments have to sort out is these tools are open source. The major companies, I can't go and say, make an email that's going to steal someone's information or tear society apart. But you can go today and download 100 different tools that are free and open that do exactly that. And I don't know how governments will deal with this, but I think whatever we do has to deal with the fact that this technology is out of the bag. These are open tools that bad people can download. How do we deal with that from a regulatory standpoint, and how do we protect our societies and inoculate them against this?
Yeah. Ali Koch, do you think governments are on top of this right now? We saw Rishi Sunak meet with President Biden and then meet with the industry leaders to discuss security, to discuss international frameworks in this space. Are they on the right track?
I think it's going to be the hardest problem and the hardest problem that it's going to be hard to solve it as a government entity, as you said at the beginning. We are just always governments are trying to catch up with the technology. So always technology goes faster than the government regulations. So, but overall, if you look at how it improves, is because of the data. We have enormous data. So with the digitalization, and everybody is creating huge amount of data, and especially, for example, in Turkcell, every day we process 250 billion lines of data. Every day. So we have 40 million subscribers, so everybody is getting on the social media. So overall, you need to be careful about what to process and what not to process, because otherwise you're going to get into personal data space, which is so dangerous for the operators as well as the government entities. So I just want to say something about this question, about this session, because I always call it a brain-stretching paradox. Because whoever is talking about that the AI is evil, they are also the same people who is spending the maximum effort and the money on that. If you think something is evil, why are you spending that much of effort?
Because you want to get it before the other evil people get it.
Yeah, so that everybody wants to be evil-like, right? So that's the reason that we need to think about this brain-stretching paradox. It is real. So then it becomes the same question with the ethics. So how we are gonna do this? For example, let me tell you something. We need to think about the human centricity. Why? So if you have a social media platform and then you want to change your profile picture, if you want to make it with the AI, it spends or it makes, in order to do that new AI picture, it consumes more energy. Then you are just taking your photograph and taking your new picture and post it. So overall, you are using AI. You know, maybe you seem you are cool because you are using AI on your profile picture, but for the world, you are not doing good because you are consuming more energy. So that's the reason that the right moves need the right principles. So if we have the right principles, everything is going to be good. So the same topic. So the data-driven technology, AI is a data-driven technology. So we should definitely be sure about the data quality. But when we talk about the data quality, we always talk about if it is error-free or not. But we need to think about the other thing, bias. If your data is biased or not. That's the same thing that he's talking about. Because if the data is biased, even if it is correct, it is not right. So that's the reason that we need to have a very set of principles. The data needs to be free of error and as well as free of bias. And then data needs to be free for everybody. And everybody needs to be instead of having a black box mechanisms, everybody, all the government entities, all the users needs to know what is inside this algorithm. It's not supposed to be a black box. Otherwise, if something is getting in and something is getting out, if you don't know what is inside, you're not going to be sure.
Yeah. It's very difficult because, and Elena, let me come to you with this. I just asked, if people will be able, sure, they should know what's in this algorithm, but can they understand it? It is highly complicated. It's a highly complicated technical area. And when we look at institutes like Elena's, remember when everyone thought the internet, the World Wide Web, could be the great equalizer in education? That it was going to be able to give people that had no access to good teachers or institutes, they could just get on a computer and have access to the same great educational material. That didn't quite materialize. In fact, we saw technology over time form an even bigger gap between the wealthy that can access that technology and the poor. How do you see AI, when Sam Altman says it's going to be, the one that raises our standard of living and the poverty now will look barbaric in the future? Do you see that too, or do you fear the opposite could possibly happen?
Well, let me share with you data from Eurostat. Is that less than 1/3 of citizens in Europe has what is called above basic digital skills. So, in other words, it means that 2/3 of Europeans are not capable of more than sending an email, installing a simple software in their computer, or searching internet. So there is a lack of digital skills, and as technology continues to advance, this need of digital talent is increasing as well. So this is an important thing that we need to address, because differences between different societies will emerge as a result.
Especially when we talk about AI taking jobs from even the highly educated. I mean, where does that also leave an institute like yours? What are you preparing people for if their jobs can actually be phased out by more intelligent AI mechanisms?
Well, at EAT Digital, we prepare our students we offer programs on innovation and entrepreneurship. They are specialized in data science, cybersecurity, these kind of things. Artificial intelligence, of course, as a tool, blockchain. And also, they get training on innovation and entrepreneurship. And we insist on European values as well. This is something that we need to emphasize. And when they finish their study, they have 100% employment, all the cohorts, and 38% of the students want to start their own business. So this is a success, many of them in this domain because it's very trendy, and we see it in many other programs that we have. For instance, we have programs for supporting startups, and I would say 1/3 or half of them now are built on artificial intelligence principles.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But it's hard to keep up. The technology is moving so quickly. And I imagine it is challenging for institutes like yours to integrate this technology as quickly as it's developing. Colin, you've encountered the same kind of issues because you study it all the time and staying up to date on what's coming onto the market, what's being used behind the scenes. And I'll ask you the same question. Do you see this technology becoming an equalizer or potentially a greater divider?
You know, it's fascinating, and I want to draw like a huge distinction between like what Turkcell and companies are doing, where applying AI for that has so much power and so much potential for serving customers. You know, the ability, whether it's optimizing service, whether it's helping your customers, you know, versus a lot of my work is more of like at societal scale, especially in the media domain, you know, how it can be used for dis and mis and that type of information. And I think that, you know, in terms of, you know, if you look at sort of the scale right now, machines are really good at making imagery. As you saw outside, they can do incredible things. They're also really good at writing source code in certain domains. Text, surprisingly, they're actually worse at text right now because it involves reasoning, it involves thinking. And one of the interesting things right now with AI is the people that weld it, you know, it's funny because as you pointed out, it's oftentimes the people that are saying, wow, this stuff's really dangerous, we gotta slow down. And like Elon Musk saying, we've gotta really slow down, it turns out no, it's because he wanted to, you know, release his tool. And so I think it's definitely going to be an unequalizer. It's going to be like the digital divide that we still have in our world today, where those with high-speed internet are able to achieve a lot that those that cannot do not. And I think AI is going to be that amplifying factor. It's like the person that has state-of-the-art internet versus the person on dial-up. I think we're going to see a lot of that through AI. But that's a huge opportunity for governments then to step in and help, just as we're seeing in the US broadband. I think there's huge potential here.
So do you think AI can protect us from ourselves by being smarter than us?
That's a good question. Right now, the AI tools are not thinking machines. They literally are autocomplete engines.
Right.
I think that where they can help us is potentially like in misinformation events, like when there's been a natural disaster, being able to step into that void that is increasingly AI dominated and helping the good guys be able to counter a lot of that. You know, if you've got bad actors using AI to flood it with falsehoods, you're gonna need the good guys to have AI that can counter that at scale. So I think there's definitely opportunities in that domain.
Ali Taha, your thoughts?
Yeah, so the very good question, but again, technology should be a social tool for the benefit of human being. So overall, if you think about it, currently the situation of AI is just a very, very good digital personal assistant. Nothing much more than that. So it's gonna help us, but it's not, because of the reasoning problems, it's not gonna be the key to our justice. It's not gonna be a problem for us in the near future. But in the future, yes, you are right. So, but we need to think about it. If you wanna make it better and better, always you need to put, in short, I call it human in the loop. So any algorithm that you build needs to be cross-checked by a human. Because the problem is, these machines can create lots of new ideas or lots of new text, lots of new pictures. But at the end of the day, because of there's no reasoning, at some point, most of them becomes garbage. So that's the reason that you need to put human inside the loop to say that you are doing something wrong. So there needs to be a cross-check mechanism. But the problem over there is we don't have enough people. We don't have enough human, because these AI tools or machines generate enormous amount of data. So someone needs to cross-check those data to make it right. So that's, I think, biggest challenge in the future for us. For example, in Turkcell, we are one of the partners of the Turkish national car brand, TOG. And in TOG, we have a system, and that digital system, the camera can detect your mood. And according to that mood, we can play a different song. But this is just a digital personal assistant, right? That's making your life a little bit easier, making your mood a little bit happier. That's it. It's not going to be more than that.
Elena, you can see we have 1 minute and 38 seconds left. I'd love to get your final thoughts, especially because I saw you kind of responding to what Ali Taha was saying.
Well, no, I think it's too early to know how far we will get to. Yeah, but talking about what Caleb was mentioned, well, I would like to add that, well, Europe is at the forefront of research, is on par with its global competitors in that sense, but with regards private investment, we lag behind. And the same with the artificial intelligence adoption by business. So this leaves us in a very difficult position with regards who owns the data, who has the power at the end.
Okay. If you can take 30 seconds, Khaled, go ahead.
Clock is ticking.
I mean, yeah, I think, as you were saying, I think right now, the AI that we have in our hands right now, it's a personal assistant. It's really good at ideation, creation, personal assistance. I think the question is how long it takes us to get AI that can truly think. But at the same time, the fact that these tools can already make people think that they're thinking, I think that's one of the greatest dangers, is like, even my friends and neighbors, they think these machines are thinking. They trust them because what they get seems so authoritative. And I think that's the greatest danger, is we put too much trust in tools that don't deserve that trust.
Oof, the future is unclear at this point, but thank you so much, all three of my panelists, for trying to explain a little bit, give it some clarity. Dr. Ali Taha Koç, Elena Contioso Fleming, and Caleb Hannes Leitaru. Thank you all so much for being with us. Thank you, everybody.